Hi guys, welcome back. I want to talk today quickly about the new academic writing of the TOEFL test. It is the academic discussion question that replaces the independent writing. In other words, replaces task 2. And I quickly want to give you guys a little bit of details on this question. There's a lot of confusion about what's going on, but we don't know too much yet. But from the examples and things that ETS has released, this is what I want to share with you today. So the first thing we have to talk about is like what kind of questions will be on the test. So far we have identified 3 different kinds of questions that will be there. The first one is from a sociology class, and then there's one from political science and another one from economics. For example, a question that can come from the sociology class is something like, what do you think is the most significant effect that browsing the internet has on today's teenagers? And then they might continue by asking like, why do you think it has this effect, or why do you think this is a serious problem, or something on the line of that. Anything about society will fall under this question. For political science, we talk about things like, imagine that if you were a policymaker, what is the most important law that you will put into effect? Why do you think this law is important? Or if you want to talk about from an economic point of view, anything related to economics. For example, like cell phones and computers have revolutionized business in the last 50 years. What do you think will be the next revolution to help increase the economy? So anything related to this kind of questions where you have to give your opinion. So the next question we have to think about is like, what does the question actually look like? So you guys can see here on the screen is like you have the instructions that tells you exactly what kind of class you are listening to. Is it political science? Is it sociology? Is it business? And also it will tell you the minimum number of words. Now this is set at 100. It doesn't mean that you can only write 100. So somewhere between 100 and 120 words should be feasible for this kind of question, since you only have 10 minutes to complete it. Then you will see after that you have the professor. The professor is introducing the questions. And right below that, here at the bottom, you can see that this is where the actual question is. This is where we know exactly what we need to do. And then that is followed by responses from 2 other students. So once again, I have said this before and I want to say it again. It's like these responses from the students is guidance for you. You should not copy anything from them. You should read what is their opinions. You can either agree with them or you can disagree with them. But the main part is you have to add to their conversation. This word add is very important. You have to add information to their conversation, not just copy from them. All right, so the next part is how do we actually answer this question? I think this is, everybody's waiting for this, right? So the way to answer this question, we can divide it into 4 parts. The first part is the general statement about the topic or the conversation. We will follow that with a statement of our opinion on the issue. And that is followed by the acknowledgement of the point of view of the other speakers in the conversation. And we'll explain why we agree or disagree and give some reasons and examples. And then finally, we will kind of summarize the main point of our post. All right, the fourth point, it depends. If we already have enough words, we can skip this, but this is a nice little helper to help us make up the amount of words that we need. All right, so now that we actually know what we're going to do, let's look at some samples on how do we answer this question. So for the general statement about the topic, we can start to saying something like, the topic of blank has generated much discussion in recent years. So this is one way to start your conversation. So when we state our opinion, we can start by saying something like, my personal belief is blank, for example, and then that is what we will use to exemplify our answer. This is very much the same as the integrated writing, the same kind of structure we use to talk about our examples. Then third, we are talking about acknowledging the viewpoints of other people, and saying that how does our viewpoint connect with them? In other words, do we agree or disagree? So we can say things like, I understand blank concerns about blank. So for example, I understand Mary's concerns over, and then whatever Mary's topic was. but I believe he or she misses another critical point. So this kind of means that I want to add something, right? So I mentioned this many times today. I said that you have to add to the conversation. Or you can say that I totally agree with the person. For example, in this case, Mary. I totally agree with Mary's point about, and then restate her point. And I would like to add, again, this add word, right? I would like to add to the conversation. And then finally, you can summarize the main points of your story. You can say that the person's name, for example, Mary's point or Mary, which is why I believe, and then restate your point, right? So you'll kind of say that I agree with Mary's point of view, which is why I believe that, and you restate your own point. This is kind of a way to end your conversation. All right, but like I said in the beginning, it's not entirely necessary, but it's a good way to end your speaking, end your writing. So before we say bye-bye, I quickly want to share a few phrases with you guys that can be helpful for you when you are doing your writing. I'm actually going to put them here on the screen so you can read through them, or you can take a screenshot so that you have them close by when you are practicing. But some of the things I do want to point out is having your introductions. Everyone has a different opinion about. That's one way. Nowadays, most people agree that and state the point. Or you can say recently there has been a debate as to, and then restate the question, right? So remember, just like before, we have to paraphrase everything. Paraphrase is really important. And then you can continue from there. You can talk about what is your opinions. Normally when we talk about opinions, a good way is to add a degree of importance. Like for example, I strongly agree or I strongly disagree. Just remember that when you say I somewhat agree or I somewhat disagree, you have to discuss both sides. You can mainly focus on your main point. For example, if you say what I somewhat agree, you 80% will discuss why you agree, but you have to discuss that 20% that makes you disagree. That is really important. So just from the point of view of making the question easier to answer, it is much easier just to say I strongly agree or disagree. All right, guys, that is all for now. As we get more information, I will definitely share with you guys. I hope you're studying hard and you're preparing for your test. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments below. And I hope to see you soon. Have a good day. Bye-bye.